coming up from the Northeast Live Studios in Guwahati. Northeast Tonight with WASBIR HUSSAIN.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. 1 year on, the ethnic violence in Manipur involving two communities, the Kukis and Meiteis, have not ended. This is a tragedy of great magnitude. Around 200 people have been killed, hundreds of homes burnt, and thousands displaced. But what is more shocking is that the violence still rages on and the fire is not doused. The big question is anyone trying to douse the fire? Why haven't we seen any serious attempt by the government or the civil society to bring the two warring sides to dialogue? We understand it is difficult to hold such a dialogue anywhere in Manipur today. But why is it so difficult to organize such a meeting at a neutral location? When the government can talk to outlawed insurgent groups, why can't the powers that be talk to the two communities to at least listen to their points of view and perceptions face to face? For 1 year now, 10 elected representatives representing the Kuki-Zo communities have not been able to set foot in the Imphal Valley, and as such they are not seen in the seat of democracy, that is the State Assembly. Now, Chief Minister Biren Singh too has not been seen visiting places like Churachandpur or Kangpokpi during the last 1 year. Has Biren Singh himself made any attempt to visit these places? If not, why? Or is the situation too volatile for him to visit such places to listen to fellow Manipuris? Why are there threats by groups in the Imphal Valley to fellow valley dwellers? Well, the situation is too complicated, tense, volatile, and may require the civil society to actually undertake serious peace-building initiatives. After all, Manipur has to move forward, not stagnate or go backwards in time. To try and understand how peace can be restored in Manipur, I have with me a very esteemed panel tonight. I have Dr. Deben Bachaspati Mayum, a peace activist joining me from Imphal, Reverend Dr. V. L. Nathang, the Secretary Zo United, joins me from Churachandpur, Professor Bimal Akoizam from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, who is also a Congress candidate, who is the Congress candidate for one of the Congress candidates in Manipur this time round. He joins me from New Delhi. Also in Delhi is Glady Bhaife, Vice President, Unnao Tribal Women's Forum. And I also have with me Hoinu Hausel, a writer and journalist, also joining me from New Delhi. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. But before we begin the discussions, let us see some defining images from across Manipur today, that is the 3rd of May, when the ethnic violence has completed a year. There on the screen, viewers, Kangpokpi, own gun salute to those who lost their lives. This is a picture we are getting from Kangpokpi. Churachandpur, remembering the loved ones. That picture, people in silence remembering the loved ones. That is from Churachandpur. And now, next, we have a defining picture from Moreh, where also the people are remembering the dead, praying for peace. These are visuals on your screen. These are visuals on your screen. Let's continue. Let's go to the Imphal Valley now. Let's go to the Imphal Valley now. Now, these are very, very significant picture of women. Some women getting tonsured. They're tonsuring their heads, calling for peace, demanding justice. Women tonsuring their faces, and they later took out a cycle rally. These are the women, gutsy women, I must say. They're tonsuring their heads. So Now let's also go to Churachandpur again. The town is in total shutdown. These are visuals of the town in total shutdown. Now there are a lot of things happening today, and another defining picture from Imphal, women now protesting, and women also protesting, demanding for peace with placards on their hands. These are the defining pictures: women tonsuring their heads, calling for peace and taking out a cycle rally in the Imphal Valley, whereas in the hills of Churachandpur and Kangpokpi, people are taking to gun salutes, remembering those people who are dead. Let's begin the debate. Let me go directly first to Dr. Deben Bachhaspati Mayum, a peace activist from Imphal. Dr. Bachhaspati Mayum, everybody is clamoring for peace. 1 year of violence is something that is avoidable. We have not seen any serious initiative by anybody, whether it is the government, whether it is the civil society, to bring the two sides together. Now what do you think? What thoughts cross your mind today as the violence completes a year? 200 people dead, thousands of houses burned, thousands displaced. Dr. Deben.
Yeah, thank you, WASBIR, for getting me on this panel discussion to express my view. In the first place, let me pay my deepest respect to all those lives, precious lives, lost in this conflict that began from 3rd May, and thousands of them still suffering in several relief camps, both in hills and valley. And the children in particular, and women who have been drawn into this conflict for no fault of theirs. Now, to look at this situation, how peace process can begin, there are two perspectives. One is allow the violent conflict to a peak stage when both sides feel they are tired out, they have no more resources to get engaged in the battlefield. Then there will be a process of reflection, and those peacemakers, civil society members who are now behind these violent scenes, will take the forefront to reclaim their space and speak up, take such actions to reconcile and find ways and means to resolve the conflict. Second perspective is how the same conflict, which has completed 1 year, is being played out beyond its limit by the power in place. It is little difficult when peace process can take place unless the power behind has a plan for peace for the people.
Right. Dr. Deben, hold your thoughts. Basically, Dr. Deben, I'll come back to you. I'll take the opening remarks from all my panelists before going further. Now, Dr. Deben is saying that the government should have taken serious efforts, should not have allowed the situation to linger for so long. So we'll come back to that. Let me now go to Reverend Nathang, Reverend VL, the Secretary of the Zoo United. What do you think, Reverend, where are we now? Where is Manipur heading? 1 year of the violence, the whole world is watching you.
To this panel discussion.
Sorry?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel discussion. Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead. You are audible.
Okay. At the outset, I do give my respect to our martyrs and to those whose lives have been lost the last 1 year. Coming into your questions, where are we into this conflict? Personally, I feel that there has been a lot of confusion in both the valley and in the hill. This confusion has to be drawn. Why? However, the healed, in particular the Kuki, the Jau communities, are very much clear that we have been forcefully exodus that has, in a way, empowered us to demand for a separate administration within the provision of the Constitution of India.
Right, but Reverend VL, your demands are a different thing. Everybody has their demands. But we are here talking about restoration of peace in Manipur. The Meiteis have their demands, the Kukis and Jaw communities have their demands. But today the big question is, can we directly concede the demand and forget about the conflict? How is peace going to come first of all?
See, WASBIR, again, my personal reflection. Those who are in power, those who hold the power, at least in the state, should, balance. They should come out with balanced treatment of both the communities. Hatred speeches, should be avoided from who are in power. Who hold the power should come out, at least on the mechanism as on how to restore normalcy and peace. At the CSO's level, even the Kuki-Jaw community, yes, we would like to have a peace, living in our own territory, maintain peace. But then those who are in power have to come up with the strategies as on how to restore peace.
Okay. So you have put the ball at the court of the government. I will come back to you. Let me go to now Professor Bimal Akoizam. Let me make it very clear. I have requested Professor Bimal Akoizam to come because he is a well-known academic. Fine, he has just joined the Congress party and is a candidate, but I'd like to speak Dr. Bimal Akoizam more as a Manipuri, more as an academic rather than as a political person, because this is not a BJP versus Congress thing. Dr. Bimal Akoizam, how do you think the divide is too much? Do you think the divide is so wide? Do you think the two communities cannot come together anymore? But dialogue, do you think is not possible?
WASBIR, first of all, thank you. It's a little, sad for me that we are talking as if we are celebrating an anniversary of a tragedy that got unfolded last year on 3rd of May. It is truly an unprecedented event, a tragedy that has struck the state of Manipur. I have no doubt that this is an handiwork of multiple players who have created this tragic situation, and the Indian state is complicit in this phenomenon. So I have no doubt about that. Whichever government, whichever political party which rules the country, the fact that you have allowed the civil war-like situations to linger on for a year in a settled democracy like India, with an armed forces which is the 4th most powerful in the entire world, to say that a small state like Manipur, whose population is roughly the population of a district in New Delhi, it is unimaginable if it's not the government's own complicity for this violence to linger on for so long. That's the first statement that I would make it. This is not a statement that I'm making now. I have been saying this right from the day one. The government should have reined in the violence in the first few occasions, in the first few days, and it should have utilized all its agencies and forces to rein in this violence, and the state should have worked, but it didn't. And I can give you the state complicities example. Look at how the Meitei villages have been destroyed in Churachandpur right under the nose of the government of India, where the district administration is there, where the armed forces are there, and how is that they have allowed those residential colonies to be reduced to dust. It is a clear sign that the Indian state is implicated in this violence. Otherwise, they would have stopped long time back.
But
And
don't you
they have
think,
allowed
Professor
these
Akoizam,
hate speeches to go on from both sides on social media, on without cracking them up? You know, you should have cracked down on these hate speeches, which has been coming up from social media, on responsible people even making
right now,
this kind of a statement. So I think let's not shy away from this fact. This is a big time for failure for the Indian state.
okay,
And it's a
Bimal
shame
Akoizam,
on all of us,
Professor
not
Akoizam,
only the Manipuris.
Professor Akoizam, you talked about how the Meitei houses were allowed to be razed to the ground in Churachandpur, but why are you silent about the cookie houses being razed to the ground in the heart of Imphal, that is capital Imphal?
I'm saying something. It is not about Tutu Meme. Their residential colonies. See, the Indian national natives have been hammered on tongue on the fact that there are no cookies in the valley and there is no Meiteis in the hill. While there are definitely cookies in the valley, it's only in September the last batch of the cookies were shifted out of Imphal. There's a sinister design going on.
I'm talking about the beginning of the clash.
Let me correct it, WASBIR. I'm not saying it. You can send out your correspondents to check facts. The residential colonies are still intact in many places in Imphal, in New Nambuland, in Langol Hill.
So, Bimal Akoizam is
what
saying,
I'm saying is that
see,
the
my
army and the
intention
police are acting to stop from
today I am not going to talk. Today I am not going to talk. Today, Dr. Bimal Akoizam, no. Today I am not going to talk about what happened. Today I am not going to talk about what happened, Professor Bimal Akoizam. I am talking about peace. You have made it political. You have made it political right at the start. We will have to mute you. We'll have to mute you. We'll have to mute you. You have made it political right at the beginning, and you are giving an impression. You are giving an impression that nothing happened in the Imphal, only everything happened in Churachandpur. That is also not the case. When people die, people from both communities have died. People from both communities have suffered. And today I am not going to recall. I am only going to look forward how to bring peace, Bimal Akoizam.
You are thinking, is it as if Kuki versus Meitei? I am only blaming the state. I am not making a statement on the communities. I have said the violence should have been raining in the first few days in Imphal. Then how can you say that I don't make a judgment or comment on violence that had happened in Imphal? Check my first interview in the print in May 21st. I said that the violence should have been raining by the government of the state in Imphal. The 4th, 5th May violence should not have happened if the state was active. I have said this, and I am saying that the state is involved. Not only they failed to rein in violence in Imphal, they were complicit in destroying houses in Churachandpur by using bulldozers right under their nose. That's what I'm saying. It's not a statement on communities. It's the failure of the state, both in the valley as well as in the hill. You're trying to make it Kuki versus Meitei. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the Indian state, the government of Manipur as well as the government of India has failed.
You have made your point.
Life and property of people.
You have made your point. Let me go to the other panelist. Let me go to the other panelist. You have spoken, and nobody can deny that it's a failure of the state. Let me also tell you, nobody can deny, no one can deny that it's a failure of the state in preventing the mayhem that we are still witnessing. We are still witnessing killings, we are still witnessing violence in Manipur. This is something which is unacceptable, because at the end of the day, this is 1 year late after the violence started. We are still talking about violence in Manipur day in and day out. Fortunately, today, that incidentally marks the 1 year. Today, so far, we don't have any reports of any violence from anywhere, except the fact that both sides are protesting or trying to make a point in their own way. Let me go to Glady Vaife. Ms. Glady Vaife is the Vice President of the Unnao Tribal Women's Forum and is a leading women's activist in Manipur. Ms. Glady Vaife, I had decided not to talk about the origins of the violence. We have seen it all. You know, we know, the viewers also know. Now is the time to talk peace. My question is, okay, we understand that the two sides cannot meet in Manipur today because the situation is such. But what is preventing the government or the civil society from making a serious effort and bringing the two sides to a neutral location and talk peace on how to, demands is a separate thing. Gladys.
Talking about the civil society, we are doing what we could. If you look at today also, both the Maite and the Kuki, we hit Jantar Mantar today. We also did a lot of press conference, a lot of memorandum has been submitted. If you look at that, the civil society cannot solve this problem. We look unto the central government, and so far we're ignored. And looking into the state of Manipur, there is no way we can solve it because the present situation, there is no law and order. The state itself is powerless. We know what Kangla court episode is. And I was hoping, as a person, what if government changed? What if Biren is dethroned? What if another government comes? But look at the gentleman who spoke before me. I have lost all hope. Hearing from the mouth of the candidate of the Congress, citing only, the Meitei side, it has to be very balanced. If we keep talking like this, even if government change, if this same person is harping only for the favor of Meitei, where on earth are going to sit together and talk about peace? It is beyond the civil society ability. I urge to the people outside Manipur, especially the opposition party, to come together and see what Biren has ruined the state. It is definitely a state-sponsored violence right from day one. The way forward, the way to move forward from now cannot be even thought until unless those arms and weapons are returned, until and unless Meitei area, the valley is peaceful for Kukizo. Sadly, from 3rd May till today, after 1 year, not even a single Kukizo have returned. We were given just one-way ticket. So if Imphal is not reachable till today, after 1 year, how are we going to sit together and talk about peace and dialogue?
Okay.
I appeal.
Yes. I am not so pessimistic. I am still optimistic. Let me turn to Hoinu. Hoinu, this is not a question of only depending on the government. Government we have seen for the last 1 year, but now we can wait forever for the government to take the initiative. Now my question is it because the civil society is also divided on ethnic lines that such an serious effort by the civil society is lacking?
WASBIR, thank you for having me. We discussed this last year, but I'm happy that we have moved on. And on the premise of all the people who died and all the premise of whatever was discussed, I would like to state that conflict is a very, very natural part of human interaction. It is a part of the societal dynamics in any civilization. But to allow this kind of prolonged violence is really unacceptable. You asked if the civil society could come forward to talk about peace, but I think even for peace, there has to be a certain prerequisite.
Yes.
For instance, there should be a mutual trust. There should be an intent to build peace. But if that is missing, how can we talk of peace? Peace has to come forth. There has to be a prerequisite for peace, but we have not been able to even build that. And Reverend had spoken about the peace. I would like to say that all that requisite to build peace is not really there. There is still a mutual distrust. The situation has not really gone ahead from where we discussed. There is a clear divide. The people in the hills have lost access to Imphal Airport, which means that they have to trudge about 15 hours of back-breaking journey all the way even to access medical facility. Even the basic things are not there. So how can we, I'm not saying that we cannot talk about peace, but we need to have certain prerequisites.
Yes,
for peace.
that's a prerequisite. Prerequisite for peace, and that of course I agree, that of course has to be done by the government. Prerequisite for peace, you have to build a conducive atmosphere for peace, and the onus largely lies on the government, although the civil society can actually help. Now I'll go for a short break. When I come back, I'll go straight to Dr. Deben Bachaspatamayum and others and carry the debate forward. Don't go away, I'll be right back. Welcome back. Dr. Deben Bachaspatimayum. Dr. Deben, you know, when the government can talk to insurgent groups who operate from another country, why is the government, do you think, not been able to talk to the community leaders, if not together, at least separately? Unless they are doing it secretly, which I doubt.
In fact, these talks have been going on over the year. Several times, the Kuki civil society leaders, political leaders have met the Home Minister. Meitei civil society have met their representations on invitations, and many other such meeting has been going on. The problem is these unilateral meetings not allowing one meeting with A group not known to B, and B discussion with B not known to C group. For me, this is a hurdle to any peace processes. While it may be very convenient for the government to manage the conflict this way, but from ground zero, from people's perspective, this is a great hurdle.
Do you think
we have always advocated for inclusive dialogue processes, facilitated
Dr. Deben,
by professional
Dr. Deben,
dialogue facilitator.
Dr.
Yes.
Deben, every right-thinking people will think the same way as you are saying. But my question is,
Yes.
an elected chief minister cannot go to several districts. Elected MLAs also cannot come to the Imphal Valley. So in the process, these MLAs, 10 of them are not part of they are not have set foot in the biggest house of democracy, that is the State Assembly, for 1 year. Now, as citizens of Manipur, as citizens of the country, what will you tell the nation? What are you going to say?
You see, in a given conflict like this in Manipur, it is practically impossible to have any dialogue process in Imphal. Imphal is no more a neutral place.
Yes.
If the government has the will, they can always organize dialogue anywhere else, in any of these metro cities in India, where good number of intellectuals, civil society leaders, women leaders are all present. Delhi, Mumbai, yes, Hyderabad, Chennai, all of this, they can always do that.
So government will of the government. Will of the government. Let me go to Reverend. I'll come to Professor Bimola Koizam, but before that, very quickly, Reverend Nathang. Now you see, everybody, of course, everybody wants peace, but everybody is saying that it's the responsibility of the government. Now, where do you go from there? Are you expecting to get your demands considered even without talking to the other community or the government? Do you think the government is going to consider or concede the demands of the Kuki Joe community even without having a dialogue with the entire communities of the state?
See, WASBIR, Joe United is the apex body of all the tribes of the Kuki Joe, or what we call Kuki Joe Myanmar. We met home officials back in February in Delhi. And the same issue was raised by the home officials. They said, would you be able to meet CSOs from the other communities, from the valley? And our response was, see, we have a coordinating civil society, which is the Joe United, at least at the leadership level of different tribes. We are together, tribes within Kuki Joe. We are together here. So we said, if the Valley brothers can have a unified CSOs who can be a representative of all the different CSOs from the Meiteis community, and we said under the chairmanship of the Home Ministry officials, we said if they are ready, if they can come up with one a civil society accepted by all, which is also chaired by the Home Ministry officials, we said we will discuss, and that may be possible for us to meet with them. But see, today it is 3rd May. We have not received any response.
Right. Professor Bimola Koizam, is it the responsibility of the opposition only to blame the government, or the opposition can also play a positive role to diffuse the crisis?
WASBIR, first of all, I think I feel a little disappointed because when you see how twisted has the situation become. When I say that the violence should have been reined in by the state at the very beginning of the crisis in Imphal, I have been saying this since May last year on national media, that the government should not have allowed the violence to happen in Imphal on 4th, 5th.
Right.
And you think that this is defending Meitei or siding with Kuki or Meitei. No, that's a twisted mind. When I give you an example,
Are you accusing me?
Let me continue.
No, let me also say that I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that.
No, that's what I was saying, that do not put words in my mouth. I must be the only one who has been saying from the day one, that the government should rein in this violence. They have an intelligence failure. The 4th, 5th, 6th May should not have happened in Imphal. I have said this on national media on 21st May. You can track it down, all my interviews. And I saw later on that, in the hills, the state was watching over this destruction of these localities in Churachandpur as well. So that's what I'm saying, that the state is complicit in this violence. There's no doubt about it. It's independent of whether the government is that of BJP or that of Congress or any government. It is a constitutional responsibility of the government in power to rein in this violence and ensure that the writ of the state works. State must claim the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force. Why should you allow these gun-trotting people to roam around like a civil war as if this is Rwanda? This is a settled democracy. Like India cannot afford that. Until unless we confront this fact of our life, talking about peace and throwing the ball at the court of the warring communities is senseless. The first, all over the country, all the citizens must ensure and insist that the state must exercise its authority to rein in this violence immediately, and then build off a platform for negotiation. That is something that they can do at the level of the government. Call all these MPs. I've been saying this. Prime Minister should call all his MPs and make them sit down rather than separately calling them and negotiate. On the second plane, they should also initiate a platform, as Devin was saying, either in Chennai or Mumbai, goodwill people, civil society groups in the rest of the country to provide the facilitations for the people to talk to each other. These are multiple ways in which, but the first thing that we have a state, there is a constitutional order. Manipur is a lawless place. It's been in a Hobbesian world for a year. Let's recognize this, that why is it the Indian state allows a civil war-like situation for linger on for so long? That's a fundamental question that I've been raising right from the day one. Until unless we get a clear answers on this, and you are falling trap into defending Meiteis or defending Kukis, when I said examples about this violence, how the state should have handled, immediately you try to slot into Kuki defend or Meitei
Don't
defense.
blame
That's
me.
not the way
Address the
things should
issue.
work.
No point in blaming me. Address the issue.
No, but you said that
No,
as if
it is
I'm
not
talking
about
as if
me.
nothing has happened in
Talk
the valley.
about
I
the
said
bigger point.
violence
Talk
have
about the
happened
issue.
in the valley, and that should not have happened.
No, Bimal, elections are over. Your results will be out on 4th. You are not addressing a campaign rally now.
No,
you
it's
are
not.
addressing
I'm
the
not
debate.
really, because you did say.
No, it's not tutu meme. Who is doing tutu meme?
As if nothing has
You
happened
are doing
in the valley.
tutu meme. I am not interested in that.
No, WASBIR, I'm just trying to correct you, because I did not say. I said violence have happened in the valley.
Yes.
The state should have stopped that.
Yes, I agree.
But instead of that, you said it. I have spoken
Violence,
I agree. In the valley.
I agree with you. I have no dispute with you. Violence should have been stopped in the valley. Violence should have been stopped in the hills. Simple.
that the state must take the fundamental initiative to restore peace in this country. Do
I
not
agree.
throw the ball at the warring communities.
I
is my
agree.
position.
I
If
agree
you
on
go
that
ahead
as
with a
well.
peaceful process,
I
the
agree on
state
that.
must
I agree
exercise
on
its
that as well.
responsibility.
I agree on that as well. So where is the dispute between you and me?
No, but you said that, as if I am defending my
No. That is your perception.
I am not.
No. Your
Violence is a
perception.
violence.
When I have
Unlawful
agreed,
act is an
no.
unlawful
I
act.
have.
The state must rein
Yeah.
in
Let
this
us not.
violence.
Let us
Period.
not. Let us move forward. Let us move forward because there is
So
no
for
dispute.
the peace, WASBIR, let me complete. For the peace, I am asking is that the state must take the primary responsibility for restoring normalcy and peace in the state. I have suggested three
Yes.
things. One, call all the MPs of this party and then have a chat. At another level, provide a platform for the civil society to engage in different places. But the state must ensure that the violence stops.
Absolutely.
That's very
Let us
crucial
move
for us.
forward. Let us move forward. Let me now come to Hoinu. Hoinu, we wanted to say something, but before that, I'm coming to you, Hoinu. You see, the state, by state, if you are meaning the Indian state, yes, the central government also cannot be absolved of their responsibility, but at the end of the day, law and order is a state subject. There is a elected state government, and elected state government has to answer most of the questions that we are discussing here today. Yes, Hoinu. Hoinu, yes. Please go ahead.
WASBIR, I just feel there is a need for reflection and also be a little honest and sincere about our intention. On one hand, we cannot be preaching to want peace, on the other hand, inciting violence. I think, therefore, there is a need for absolute sincere in our attempt to want to have peace. So again, I come back to the same thing that I stated. We spoke of peace, but we need to reflect on the absence of the principles that would allow peace to come in. For instance, we have not even addressed the structured cause of the violence. We have not introspected on the grievances that people have had. We have not addressed those, and unless and until we address that, I don't think we would be coming to any sustainable solution.
Absolutely.
And we have also not really
Absolutely, absolutely. No doubt about that.
Different commissions have been formed,
Right.
and I don't think they have really come to any conclusion at any stage that has really addressed the problems. And there has not been a proper reconciliation of the way forward. So I think we need to really look at the realities of what is the grievances and the structured cause of the violence. Unless and
Right.
until we address
See,
those, I'm
let me
afraid
absolutely-
we will be debating it year after year.
Right, absolutely, I agree with you. Let me quickly, before coming to Reverend and Dr. Deben, let me go to Gladys. Miss Gladys, track two initiatives have done wonders in different conflict situations, even between two nations. We are here talking about two communities in one state. It's not even a case between two states. It's a case within the state between two communities who have been living together peacefully for decades and decades. Now the question is, do you think there is need for a peace and reconciliation commission or whatever you name it, at least at the track 2 level? Whether it succeeds, whether it fails is a different thing. But at least, do you think there is need for a peace and reconciliation commission type of a thing? It may not have a sanction of the government. It need not have anybody's sanction. If just some people getting together, well-meaning people. Do you think that can be a start? Do you think that can be a start?
Yes, definitely yes. Because like you have seen, Manipur, 1 year have passed. There is no solution. Forget our even solution. There is no, there's no step to ask how to even talk about peace. If we do not involve any other such kind of committee, then both the community will keep fighting. If you look at, even though we are physically separated now, the Meitei and the Kuki are physically separated now. But then you see most of the Meitei trying to cross over the buffer zone. If you look at the recent violence also on 14 April, it is in a Kuki Zhou area. Those two volunteer boys were, bodies were chopped into pieces. All those could have stopped had other, committees set up seriously, not by the government, if not possible, yes, but even other civil society, apart from people staying in Manipur. This is really the right time, because if you look at the violence from 3rd May, we have been asking the government, come and help us, please. We even asked for president rule, and it was turned a deaf ear. And then if president rule was imposed in those days, many people who died today would have been alive, even both sides, even Meitei and Kuki. And the longer we wait for a solution, more life will be lost. Even this is not the end yet. 1 year have passed, nothing is possible. The state has no power. We keep saying the state, it is the responsibility of the state. We all know the state has no power. Even the chief minister can be summoned by some group who have guns. They can be lined up, even in the street. There is no law and order. Expecting the state to solve this problem is impossible. And
Okay.
also, like my friend Hoinu says that peace has to be, felt. It has to be. You cannot sign a peace accord and say
Right,
peace has to
right.
be.
Point
it has
noted.
to be
Point noted.
felt.
Let me go to Dr. Deben now. Dr. Deben, you see, not the majority of the people are in favor of territorial integrity of Manipur being kept intact. There should be no division of Manipur. That is the view of a large number of people in Manipur. Now, my question is, the Meiteis, obviously, we are talking facts. We are not talking about cookies or Meiteis, but we are talking facts. Meiteis are the majority community. Meiteis have been saying, and rightfully so, that their state should not be dismembered, it should not be divided. That means the Meiteis, do you think the Meiteis have regarded everybody who is staying in Manipur? That means if the state is not divided, that means the Meiteis will have to live together with all the minority groups, all the minority communities. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, that's right. Meitei people have played a central role historically. So therefore, it does have social, moral and political responsibility to ensure that whatever problems people are confronted with are properly diagnosed and appropriate, authentic solutions are found in an inclusive manner.
Yes.
But the problem is that this conflict that is taking place in Manipur is happening within the larger framework of counter-insurgency operation, which again falls within the larger framework of look-east policy, which became aggressive from 2014. So
Right.
this is what is complicating the whole situation.
Yes, absolutely.
Meiteis
By the
have
way,
always
viewers, Dr. Deben Bachaspati Mayum is not just a peace activist, he is actually a trained peace activist, because he has done serious courses in conflict management and transformation. He will be looking at it from a different perspective. It's, like before I go to Reverend and then to Bimal and close the show. Now, Dr. Deben, in this kind of a situation, when every majority people are saying that states should not be divided, that means you should be also willing to stay together and resolve the differences with your neighbors, with your other communities, because you can change your friend, but you cannot change your neighbor. Deben.
Yes. Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'm very sure about it. In fact, you see, like, there has to be a way. We don't need to put any precondition to peace process. Not only in Manipur case, but in any case elsewhere.
Yeah.
There has to be enough people's will to get into peace processes. This what I see is lacking. So because in every conflict you have seen across the world, behind every violent actions against the other, there is always few persons working for peace behind that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this vibrant capacity for peace is very present across the divide in Manipur. But the question is, in this complicated conflict situation in which the state is implicated,
Right.
the peace constituencies are not able to reclaim their space,
Correct.
especially when communities are so deeply militarized. And
That is also that is a
free
big
to
that
do
is a
whatever
big
they
thing.
like.
That is a big angle to the whole conflict. It's a militarized zone at the moment. Weapons are floating around in Manipur. Weapons are in the hands of so many people. I think at the end of the day, demilitarization is perhaps the first priority before the two communities can sit together and talk peace. Demands are a different issue. Reverend Nathang, you see, one of the other people who are most respected by everybody, every community, are their religious leaders. Whether it is the community leaders and the religious leaders, they are most respected by the Aam Admi, that is the common people. Now, can religious leaders, can community leaders play a part according to you? Reverend, you have put off your mic. Please put on your mic. Speaker.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Wasbir, the religious leader, at least in the tribal areas where the Kuki, Jomi, Mar, or the Mijo lives in the hills, are so much engaging in reducing the harms. But not obvious. Religious leaders have very, very strong, a very important role to play in it. But then I come back. Acceptance of whoever it may be the religious leaders or maybe the community leaders, acceptance of a person who is willing to initiate for dialogue is more important. See, if there has not been an acceptance, or as Dr. had mentioned, he talks about people willingness. So from both the community, if there are no, people are not willing, therefore we say there should be a common CSO who is accepted by both, and that is where religious leader can also play it.
Right.
Not
Absolutely.
even from the valley, from the Meiteis community, we have religious leaders, but the question is, will they be accepted? Therefore, structural violences, there are certain issues who are in power have to address.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me turn to Dr. Bimol Akoizam for his final comments. I hope, Bimol, you will be little less angry at this point in time and give two suggestions. What is the road ahead?
Make sure that the violence stops. You can't talk about peace and negotiation and dialogue when you have gun-trotting people roaming all over the state and the violence continues. So let's make no mistake on this. The state must assert its authority and the violence must stop to provide a precondition for talks. Let's have that sense that you cannot have a Rwandan-like civil war where people are armed to the teeth and killing each other and you still talk about peace. That's absolute nonsense. You should have a conditions for talk and dialogue. For that, the violence must stop. The state must assert its authority. That's the first condition. The second condition is for a lasting peace, you cannot have peace without justice. There are historical grievances and structural issues, which is not only associated with one community. Every communities, including Meiteis, have historical grievances, structural grievances. All of these things have to be addressed to a prolonged, sincere dialogue among people. But for everything to happen, the violence must stop. The state must work. That's the first condition for a way forward.
Absolutely. I cannot agree more with Dr. Bimol Akoizam. Violence has to stop and only then rest of the things can follow. Also, he's talking about structural grievances and violence and all that. Now, point is, also we must also understand that absence of war is not necessarily peace. Peace is not the absence of war. There are a lot of things that need to be understood. And as a journalist, having covered the Northeast for the last 4 decades and more, me and my channel's endeavor has just been to walk towards peace in the region. We at Northeast Live stand for a cohesive and peaceful Northeast. I thank all my esteemed panelists for their presence this evening and for the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.